So there's a lot of new things on Amazon right now. Amazon is implementing a lot of AI, both on the creative side, both on listing optimization side when it comes down to SEO. That is quite new and still like people are sharing so much about it. It's still work in progress, they're still messing up, but it's something that is really important because sometimes it's going to flag things that it should not be flagged. So here, huge heads up, have notifications on always to ensure that your listing was not taken down.
Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the Amazon Strategist Show, the show that's all strategy with no hacks, no silver bullets and no magic pills, just real practical strategies to grow your Amazon business. Today I am joined again, back by popular demand, but none other than Noemi from Scalewave out of Florida, USA. Scalewave is an agency that launches, optimizes and focuses on ads on Amazon. And using advertising and data-driven decisions, they help drive success for their clients in the really competitive Amazon marketplace. So, Noemi, welcome back to the show.
Hello. That popular demand sounded really good. I'm so excited to be back on the show.
Well, thanks for coming back. And by popular demand, because one of your episode was one of the most listened to. So, recently, most listened to in the last year, I think. So, if you haven't listened to that episode, head back, go and see and listen to Noemi back then. Welcome back.
Yes. Thank you. Excited to be here.
So we're now in 2025. As always, life will never be the same again. Amazon will never be the same again. So what are you thinking about? What are you talking about in the Amazon space? To start out 2025.
Sure. So there's a lot of new things on Amazon right now. Amazon is implementing a lot of AI, both on the creative side, both on listing optimization side when it comes down to SEO. That is quite new and still like people are sharing so much about it. It's still work in progress, they're still messing up, but it's something that is really important because sometimes it's going to flag things that it should not be flagged. So here, huge heads up, have notifications on always to ensure that your listing was not taken down. That being said, now that the dramatic is out of the way, what is new? What I'm seeing that is new? I'm talking to a lot of sellers and I'm talking to a lot of doesn't really depend on the size. Medium, small sellers, self-founded, founded from other places, not only Bootstrap. And what I'm seeing so far is that there's the one thing on their mind, which is okay, what is next? Because everyone is sharing this information and that information and that information, and this new tool is coming up and this new feature Amazon is releasing, and their attention is going to go all over the place. And what I found really hard, and here just looking forward also for your feedback, John, what I found really hard actually, I see that from service provider, I rather than became more mentor, strategist, rather than, this is a service, because you were sharing also with our audience, yes, we are focusing on advertising, but right now what I'm noticing is that so many times it's just a lot of FOMO out there, and that's what it's causing so much, you're questioning yourself. And besides the fact that you're questioning yourself, not only that, but you're going to pay attention to the things that someone else already knows how to play the game, or they are just look, this is the new thing and this is my service and this is so on. So it's just taking your attention. And that is something that I'm noticing not only now in 2025, but for the past 2 to 3 quarters. It's coming out and it's something new and you should be focusing on that and so on and so forth. So right now I'm seeing a huge FOMO in our industry. And again, also I'm curious also on your end, how do you see that? Because we are actually helping the same type of sellers, I believe.
Yeah. I think FOMO, with modern technology and with the way that the world is going, you can always see a million people making more money than you, doing something cool, new and interesting.
Right.
And I think the big breakthrough for me on that was that if they're marketing, if they're sharing what they're doing, they've either already made their money out of it and they're out, or they're selling something to help you do this. And then usually they're not the people that have achieved. I don't know about you, but I've spoken through this podcast and through speaking at conferences. I've spoken to a lot of influencers, in the Amazon space. Right. And you'd be surprised how little actual selling a lot of these influencers do, and how they're not up there in the successful sellers. The successful sellers who make the most money do not tell you what they're doing. and don't aren't out there because they're already too busy making a bunch of money. They've got 20, 30 employees. They're scaling like crazy. They're not sharing on the internet the latest and greatest way to make an extra 20 grand a month. So having someone like you to tell them to stop doing things sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So that's really top of mind right now, and also for our conversation would love to go through, and I also would love also to hear from you, because yes, this is like a podcast, you're interviewing us, but in the same time we're in the same industry, we are facing the same problems, and as you were saying, those are the same things also that I'm seeing, and also those are the things that maybe I am caught into the how to fix that, let's hire the next agency who don't even know as much as I do, and like I have to teach them, it's like, why am I hiring you, But maybe they are better at marketing, maybe are like just so desperate that you want someone, and it's like, I don't have time, I cannot train, So yeah, that's something that not only the brands that we are serving are facing, but also we as agency owners and like business owners, we are going through the same process as well. So probably this is why it's easier to spot it, because it's not like their symptom, but like it's an overall symptom that's going on,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think everyone's the same, and everyone needs a coach or a mentor or somebody to push them onto the right track.
Right.
I was listening to a podcast recently, actually, the My First Million Guys podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever listened to them? And he was talking about, he took on this investor, and like in 9 months or 12 months, he thought this guy was going to help him scale his business like crazy. And he tells the story that all this guy did when he came in was find his best, this was off Amazon, but find his best product with the best reviews, made an ad, ran that ad, and then like 12 months later he was saying to this guy like, I thought you were going to do more in my business as an investor. And the guy was like, I did loads in your business. I was like, well, what did you do? And he's like, well, you wanted to do this, didn't you? I told you not to do that. You wanted to do this thing over here. I told you not to do that. And he named like 5 different things he told him not to do. And he said the reason they grew so much is because they didn't do all the shiny objects and try and build huge influencer teams and all the stuff he wanted to do that year. They just focused on Facebook ads and made a bunch more money.
Stick to the basics. I'm not sure if you're listening to Alex Hormozy and Leila Hormozy. I absolutely love them. They're like my superheroes for the past 2 years.
They look like superheroes.
Okay, there was almost a small parenthesis. I was just talking to my husband. Alex just looks so much like Hagrid, how it's called from Harry Potter.
Hagrid,
like,
if Hagrid was
Hagrid,
jacked.
Yes. And I cannot now take it out of my mind. It's like, All right, that was the close of.
I think
I close the parenthesis.
Noemi, I think we have some great insight into your psyche. If when you were reading Harry Potter, that is how you imagined Hagrid. There is
no, I'm watching the movie. I'm watching the movie.
Okay, it's like Hagrid, the most jacked man I can imagine.
All right, good. It was a parenthesis that that wasn't appropriate, maybe. All right, long story short, actually they are sharing something that it's super valuable, which is like stick to the basics and become really good to the basics. And what I'm seeing so far is actually one of the topics that I would love to talk about is, because it was funny, right before hitting recording, you were like going through the questions that I submitted and the topics, and like PPC is just 1%, the other 99% comes from the non-PPC factors, and you were like super like, aren't you like in the advertising business? I'm like, yes, I am, and this is why I'm telling you this, And also for our listeners, what I'm seeing so far is exactly that, sticking to the basics. PPC is just a magnifier of whatever works well or it doesn't, And it's just like money, You're throwing money at something, you're going to see all the flaws and all the skills someone has, So the same way here as well when it comes down to advertising, because why it's super important is going to be just the 1%. The basics are, do you have inventory covered? Once that you covered that step, all right, now you can maximize even more your advertising. Then the next step is going to be, all right, now that everyone sees your product, how do you look, Let's go through the optimization process. So does the product looks good, Same way how you would do whenever you would advertise your website, for example. Do you have these steps that are already like, people are going to convert, on the product once that they are going to land on your website, And most of the time, I believe that brands don't really see it that way. They would think that just because I think there's so much FOMO and so many like agencies that are selling services and agencies just pop out every day, it's going to be still a bit of fear that, oh, I have to improve that, and I have to improve that, and I have to improve that, and it's like too much, So based on that, what I'm seeing really successful sellers that we're helping, and we managed to like grow their accounts 20-30% month by month. And it's not only because of expertise, but also they are prepared. So they have inventory, they are covered the bases, they are looking into how to improve my creatives, they are looking into how to maximize my main image, they are looking into, okay, my pricing, how is my pricing, is it competitive enough, is it not, should I be running deals, should I be running coupons? So those are the questions that, interestingly enough, I don't find any of those posts, John, on LinkedIn, because those are not like, those are not like shiny, and it's like, those are the basics, So yeah, that's something that was really top of mind and wanted to share also with our audience, because right now what I'm seeing is that if you don't get the basics, advertising just only as good as you can sell. We're not selling digital products, we are selling physical products. If there's nothing to sell, all the effort that you put into advertising is just going to die out, simply because there's nothing else. You cannot supply demand, basically.
And now a very quick message from our sponsor, Seller Candy. Are you dealing with support issues, cases, flat files, suspensions, or even account suspensions? Then Seller Candy is there for you. We take the pain away so you never need to talk to seller support again. If that sounds interesting, head to sellercandy.com to check us out and book a call with our team today. That's it from us. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I had a different conversation with my friend about LinkedIn this morning. I think LinkedIn is an inappropriate phrase I cannot say here, where everyone is beating everybody else up continuously and trying to sell each other stuff.
Yep.
Yes, I think if you're doing advertising, if your advertising agency isn't looking at your listings and talking to you about conversion rate, then they're missing something. Because advertising is great. If you could go from a 15%, 25% ACOS to a 20% ACOS, awesome. But if you can take your conversion rate from 3 to 4% on the listing, you get the same return. It's a bigger improvement. So you're making a 33% improvement going from 3 to 4% conversion than you are saving the 20% going from 25 to 20. So conversion rate is such a huge impact on advertising results, click-through rate, everything, that I think conversion rate is so important.
Yeah, and most people are not going to talk about it because that is not, it's not like, look what I did for this account. From 10%, now it's like 5% takeoffs, and it's like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, tacos sounds great, but it's dollars in pocket. Tacos could go up, and you can make a lot more money. It all depends on the overall
your
account
goals.
metrics.
Yep.
Yeah, love it. So, I know you like to talk about product life stages and expectations at different life stages. Like, could you talk a little bit about that? Now we are talking about PPC, the 1%. How do we talk about life stages and what you should be looking for each life stage?
Sure. So I believe one of the things is that whenever sellers are starting out, they don't really understand life stages, especially if they don't have a background in business and if they don't build their business to sell, basically, right? And very important is that most of the time whenever someone is coming and like they want to run ads and they are in the product launch phase, what they are not going to understand is that there's a highly likely chance that their product is not going to work, right? The product is going to fail. And this is not because the product is sell, but you are a totally new business owner. Think of your business as just because it's a brand, you're selling something, a physical product, you're still a business owner. Therefore, if you don't have the skills that business owners will have, like after years and years of understanding how things work, highly likelihood that 90% of the businesses are going to fail based on that, right? So that is the very first stage of the product. And why is this super important for especially brands, newer brands to understand is because you might be doing your best efforts. You might be finding best like service providers. You might be finding the best product, high quality, and so on and so forth. Here in this stage, you're going to see things that you did not expect at all, right? Because like you're still learning so many things. You're learning so many skills that you don't have yet. And also one of those skills is hiring. So when you're going to hire someone, the people who are you going to hire, even with agencies and so on. If you would have me right now to hire an Amazon agency, I would know how to ask all the questions just because I have already expertise. But when it comes down to actually, we are just looking at like cold email, and hiring agencies there and so on. It's like biggest mistakes ever. And it's like, Noemi, are you not learning? So even me, I'm not skilled enough to understand who's a good fit and who's not. So this is just to prove also our listeners that whenever they are starting, it's going to be very, very important that they're going to ask all the right questions. So when it comes down to product, life stage, in this scenario, the first 4 to 6 months, they are going to be prepared. So actually, John, here, I'm also like curious on your end. What we're seeing so far, there are a lot of sellers who are going to come at this stage to have them advertise, and most of the time they're going to fail, not because they didn't choose well, it's just because there's so many things that they have to learn, and they're going to take over control of whatever. So they're going to do this for my advertising and so on and so on and so forth. So they are going to command you what to do instead of relying on your expertise, So that's the very first stage that I'm seeing.
Love it. And I think, yeah, you're definitely right there about hiring people and trying to direct them. Like my shortcut for that, if anyone's interested in my number one tip for how to shortcut that, it's to find, if it's a person, it's easier. If it's an agency, it's a bit different, but like find someone who's had success in as close to what you're trying to achieve as humanly possible. So if it's, Amazon, maybe a bit more, Amazon's Amazon, but it may be if you're a supplement company in the supplement space, but say you're an agency and you want to go through partnerships and you're looking for a marketing person. Well, if you're hiring a marketing person that hasn't successfully built a partnership program at another agency, ideally in the Amazon space, if you can, if not in a very analogous space that can explain it to you and that's their ethos. Like I see it as the concept of everybody has a hammer, different sized hammer, and everything they see is a nail. So if they're a person that solves this problem, they already have the partnerships marketing hammer, they're going to hit it with that. So if they're a Facebook ads person, that's great. But if they had super success at Facebook ads in this Google agency or this Facebook agency, I don't see anyone who's doing super well through Facebook ads in the Amazon space. So they're going to try super hard to hit that problem with that hammer. And maybe they'll solve it if you've got a huge budget that you can keep them to spend. But if that's not the way you see things happening, the person is going to use their experience. So find somebody with the closest possible experience and a success to what you want to achieve.
Love it. Super, super, super valuable. And they are just like, so also our listeners can understand, while yes, we are helping brands with something specific, I think that it's actually having them understand that the first stage is going to be still learning, a lot of learning, and then as you were explaining, okay, then find someone who is the closest, who has already experience. And here I think the biggest experience that you should have is having someone who understands troubleshooting and immediately whatever happened, why it happened, so they can like do quick iterations, at least on the advertising side, because this is a stage when you are learning a lot, you're learning a lot of how does the market react to your product, you're learning a lot what works, what doesn't work. We as an agency, we're still testing new things that we have not done to your account. We might have successfully achieved the same or similar results to other accounts that are similar to yours, but not your own product, So I think that here the skill set that any new brand owner should look into, okay, are they able to quickly fix and quickly help me to see, okay, what are the next 3 steps? Because I don't have the next 3 steps, but they already faced that problem, So that is the first life stage of the product. The second one is going to be when you already established the product, and here what we're looking into optimizing as much as possible and scaling the account, right? So in this scenario, we already have inventory. We figured out that, all right, we understand that is the most important thing for our product, not even the product itself. Do you have inventory? Because if you have inventory and the product is high quality or better than whatever your competitors are selling, you already are positioned well to bring traffic to your listing, Next is going to be, all right, you double down there, you're converting better for the same price that you paid previously. You might be bringing new products, you might be testing other things, but then it's going to be a stage when we're growing the account, right? And here, the way how I'm seeing it, it's like a certain maturity of the business owner himself, who already went through all these processes and they learned to not fall for the shiny object right away. I'm curious also, like on your end, how do you see this? Because probably like it's very similar also on your end.
Yeah, so shiny object syndrome, I think, is like ideas-based people who like to solve problems. We always see things that we want to do, whether it's, oh, this is the next thing, this is going to make us money, this is going to be the next big thing. And my theme of 2021, which is now a while ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, the start of it, was focus. Because I was doing way too much in 2020. You know, I had too much free time. COVID amplified my free time and ability to sit at home doing nothing. So I started a bunch of doing a bit of different stuff. And in 2021, I cut everything else and just focused on seller candy all the time. And that's the time we like 3x'd in a year because it was a big push, you know, focus. And I think shiny object syndrome can be great because it means you're seeing new things, but if you put them on a holding list for the future and focus on the one thing, then you wake up thinking about it, you go to bed thinking about it, and a lot of things is just thinking time. Like if you have a lot of thinking time on something, you'll solve the problem. Like if you have to make this thing work, if there's not going to be some other random random thing that suddenly makes everything good, because we're always looking for the one thing which solves all problems. If we just have to make it work, then we'll make it work, or we go out of business, as you said. But usually you make it work because you have to make it work. Like the number one thing that I see successful entrepreneurs be successful over unsuccessful ones is just time, you know, or delusion. You know, we're all delusional that what we're going to do is actually going to work. The level of delusion and like, well, there's no other option. I have to make this work, otherwise I'm destitute. I will make it work, you know. I'm selling myself on the streets, and I'm not very valuable. So it would take me a lot of time and a lot of money to make the same amount of money on the streets. So I want to be at home and I want to make the money on the internet. Yeah.
100%. Amen to that, brother. All right. It's very funny though. Like I think that also like not only like the way how we are structuring all this conversation, I'm seeing exactly the same thing. And also for me last year, it was focus and discipline. Not only focus, but I have to stay disciplined too. Being focused, that is something that I'm going to do. And actually this is the second stage or the mid stage where I'm seeing also brands really understanding how to play the game and then doubling down on the, you know, this is super basic what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it. It's simple. I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to invest the 4 hours, 5 hours per day. I'm going to do the same stuff. And this is also something that I'm seeing on my end for successful sellers. So once that they've gone through this stage, they might be thinking, okay, what's next? Is this a legacy business? Am I going to leave it to my kids maybe? Or is this something that I actually want to sell? And that is going to be the next portion when it's going to be very important for us to show that the business is valuable even without the seller, the brand owner, you know. And to be frank with you, we had less cases that I want to, those cases, because there, what we need to do, we have to be really good managers of keeping up everything kind of straight, so we can show that actually the business, even without the business owner, is going to run really smoothly, you know. But that would be the next stage, understanding that if you're in that stage, you cannot do the same type of testing process that you did previously, when you are just growing, when you're just scaling, when you're trying out new things, when you are like, okay, let's try this type of campaigns, let's try this type of ads, let's try all those stuff. You cannot really do that, because then what is going to come across to a next potential buyer is that, all right, so I cannot sustain this one because there's always input, and I have to be top of my game, you know. And there we have to showcase that even with proper management and proper optimization that doesn't take a ton of time, the business is still growing. It might be growing slowly, but it's still growing, you know. And that's also very, very important for brand owners to understand, because that is a different mindset. That is the mindset of how do I prove that whatever I built, it's actually worthwhile, and it's not me who's running it, but whatever is behind that, the systems and the process that I already put together for that, you know. Yeah, those are the 3 strategies that I'm seeing right now with brand selling on Amazon. And really does not matter how big the brand is 6 figure, is 7 figure, maybe even 8 figure. If they figured out these 3 steps, it's again the basics, but they figured out basically everything, what they really need to know in order to see if they can make this successful or not, it does come down to discipline and focus, as you were saying. And that discipline and focus, first, you're going to just dabble into it because you don't know how to do it properly. Then you're going to become better. Then you are going to understand, okay, now the discipline and focus is something that I have to implement within the agencies, the employees, whoever is running the business right now, So, yeah, kind of that's my take on that.
Very true. And I don't know about you, but I struggled with that in the past because I wanted total freedom. So, I wanted people to be self-disciplined and self-focused. So, that causes issues if you give people too much freedom. If you think you're driven for something different and, you think they don't need discipline, everybody needs discipline. I know previously, whenever I haven't achieved, it's because I've just kind of gone off the rails and been like, I don't need to do that.
That I love that you share that, and that is, I think, super profound. And the reason for that is, I'm not sure like your previous experience, who were you before, whoever you are right now. But for me, for example, I was always alone. I was always doing things that is like self-employed or so on and so forth. So I didn't really depended on anyone else. I didn't need it to train anyone else. And what I noticed right now, even if you have the one employee, even if you had the freaking cat who's just like right now running through the room, hopefully no one is going to hear it. But it comes down to training. Where are your training skill sets? And to be frank with you, I love to be super organized. I love to be like a perfectionist when it comes down to this is the best that I can do. And I might ask that same thing also from my teammates. I might ask the same thing from from our clients and so on and so forth. And it's not going to come across just because I don't know how to train it, And that is like, again, a skill set as well, So understanding that training itself is a skill set as well, and you have to dedicate time to it. It's, again, for me, it's like a huge discovery.
I think there is a level above that as well, depending if you've got the money, which is hiring. I think a lot of that stuff, because I'm a terrible trainer.
Yep.
I shouldn't say that. It's not my identity. But I don't like training people, and the way to find people that don't need training is to hire amazingly, which is to have the budget, but also to hire amazing people and hire A players. People say A player all the time. I don't like the phrase A player because I think it's too like wishy-washy. But A player is, in my mind, somebody who has, I think, what you're describing, which is the emotional need to succeed. Like they will beat themselves up continuously and be upset and unhappy if they don't succeed and they don't do the job they want, that they think they're capable of doing. And those people don't need training at the same level as other people. Because they will naturally pull it out of you. They will sit in front of you and ask you enough questions and be like, is this how you do it? Watch me do it. Give me feedback. Tell me if this is right. Tell me if this isn't right. Because they want to be right. And they will go crazy until they're right. So they require a completely different skill set to manage, because it's not the same as you have to do this. No, it's like, stop doing that. You're doing too much. We didn't pay for that. Anyway, just my insight recently is because I hired some good people, and I have a business partner, and he's hired even better people than I hired. And I'm like, if I'd only had these people before, we would have grown 10 times faster, because these people don't need anything. They just want me to get out of the way.
Yeah, love that. And also, I think like right now we're talking more high level, and it seems like we're very off topic, but we're not. Actually, it's the same process also when it comes down to brands and whoever is going to manage their brands. Because what I'm seeing so far, and especially like in our industry, because there are so many people who are advertising is a skill set, right? So you can learn how to do it, you can be a good follower. Once that you understand the rules, you can replicate success. But what comes next is, are you a good troubleshooter? And how quickly can you make the connections? The A player that you were just mentioning, right? And then that is the difference between someone who's going to just execute based on, this is how I always did it, and like I don't have the skill of curiosity to learn more and find more and understand more and show you better options, And what I'm seeing so far also on the service side, there are a lot of agencies and there are a lot of service providers, and especially in e-commerce, who are just like uprising and they're like, yes, I'm going to do it for $500, something that you would do for 5,000 because you know how much you invested in it, so kind of like we got the same competition when it comes down to this skill set as like on Amazon. Someone is going to sell it for $5, someone is going to sell it for $50. It's the same product, probably it is, but then actually once that you're getting at home and you're like, oh, I can smell it, it doesn't smell like chemicals, oh, okay, actually this is smooth, and so on and so forth, then you're going to see it once that you're going to experience it, so I think this is super relevant also for like brand owners as well.
I love it. So we have to wrap up. I think we're coming towards the end of our time, Noemi. So
yes,
if anyone wants to follow you professionally or reach out to you, what's the best way to do so?
Love it. Following professionally, yes, please do not stalk. You can stalk also, but like stalk on the internet.
Don't give me that. I'm pretty sure that holds up in a court of law. You're in America.
Lol, back when you were going on like MySpace and Facebook and so on, and you were following people, that's what you're doing. Because honestly, this is the best way. Just go and look up whoever what they are doing, and they are constant. If they are constant at least for 3 months, follow them even more. Because then you will see actually if they are going to share the same thing or if they're like all over the place just to tell you on something. So for me to do that, to follow me the right way, as John was saying, do so on, just hit me up on LinkedIn, say follow, say that, hey, I listened to this episode on John's podcast, and probably then I'm going to accept your connection. Otherwise, I might not know who you are, but that would be the best spot. And then the second thing, if you're interested in more, that what we can provide, because we were talking about advertising, and that's actually our expertise besides business, go to scalewave.io. That's scalewave.io, not .com. And then there you can find us, and you can shoot us an email also as well. It's super easy, but that would be the best places to just follow up with me. And even if you have a question, advertising, non-advertising, anything that we talked today about, would be happy to answer.
Thank you, Noemi. So, Noemi, thank you so much. Noemi Bolojan, if you want to follow her on LinkedIn, will also be the link below this episode, so you can check her out, scalewave.io. And thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to having you back again at some point in the future, and thanks for sharing with the audience, Noemi.